right. Well, salutations, fellow idiots. Welcome back to yet another episode of Full Moon Live. We are joined once again by Chris Pico, the old-ass retro gamer, good friend of the channel here, frequent contributor to these now, so I don't think he really needs any introduction anymore. Today we're going to be talking about the underrated 1990 gem that is Shadowzone. This is a movie that I don't have a ton of history with, but, you know, I've seen it around over the years and was pleasantly surprised by it when I finally dug into it for my review series last year. We're going to hit you guys with some first impressions here momentarily, but what made you want to do this one next, Chris?
It was one of the full moon movies that I thought I had watched back in the day, but I actually never did.
Right.
So when I started going back into Tubi, because Tubi has the majority of the full moon library, I was starting to watch them from like beginning to end, like from when they were released in order.
Right.
And when I got to Shadowzone, I'm sitting there going like, this isn't like familiar at all. So I think I must have seen some stuff from trailers, some stuff in the video zones, and possibly caught part of it on cable at some point to make me think that I had watched the whole movie, but I didn't actually watch it until probably a month ago.
Yeah, me and Ryan were talking about that a bit the last for the Crash and Burn discussion. Like, it's pretty easy to, and I think we touched on it with Arcade. Like, it was pretty easy to get tricked into thinking you had seen more of some of these than you had, because we saw footage of them so often, even if we hadn't actually rented them. So we got a first comment here. Token Nerd and More says, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" We got a couple other people in there. I'd assume Cody's probably one of them. Maybe Jess or Mikey. Time will tell. So, yeah, I mean, that's sort of similar, I guess. I was pretty sure I hadn't seen this, but definitely had seen it around. It's one of those tapes that pops up every now and again in tape groups, you know. It's got a recognizable cover, as we saw there, with the alien dude and the lightning bolts and, like, the cryo chamber looking thing. So it's not a cover that you forget after you've seen it, because it's pretty striking. What's up, Ty Lord? Welcome to the stream. So we're going to go ahead and run a trailer for you guys, and then we'll give you our initial first impressions of Shadowzone. Pretty solid little film here. I'd probably put it right up there with Crash and Burn in terms of being like fine entry-level full moon films and just pretty decent little sci-fi flicks, even if you're, you know, sort of judging them outside of just the full moon catalog. So hopefully we'll be able to impress that upon you. But here is the trailer. I apologize for the lengthy intro to this. I didn't have time to chop it off.
Project Shadowzone, Captain Hickok.
In the dark of a lifeless sleep.
By taking subjects beyond normal levels of dream state sleep,
A research team
we discovered that a parallel dimension exists.
is exploring the world beyond dreams.
There's something I think you should see.
What is it?
I don't know.
Someone's trying to gain entry to the project.
It's a shadowy realm where science ends.
This is very dangerous.
It's coming out of the darkness.
Do something!
I can't. Something's overriding the program.
Where your darkest fears are given life.
It can assume the physical nature of human thought.
Become any size, any shape it wants.
It became what Kidwell was looking for.
Where the distance between sleep and death
There's no way out.
is just a nightmare away. Louise Fletcher, James Hong, Sean Weatherly. Shadowzone.
Yeah, so that's the trailer. Actually, it was kind of nice seeing that old school full moon logo again.
Hmm.
Yeah, we usually see the one with the bats these days, which is fine. But that VHS 5 is pretty tasty.
Yeah.
So Tyler asks, or he says rather, that he's not seen this one. Will there be spoilers? Maybe minor ones. It's kind of one of those
That
movies.
trailer was pretty spoilery.
Yeah, that showed more than we'll probably talk about in intimate detail. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. It's not really one of those movies that's too deep or anything. So
Yeah.
in
No
terms of the way
Shyamalan
it all
twist.
plays out, yeah, it's about what you would expect. But we'll try to keep some of it intact for you. So I guess we'll give you the tail of the tape real quick before we jump into our first impressions. This was written and directed by J.S. Cardone, who was a Full Moon regular back in the day. Wrote a ton of movies for him. I think he directed several of them. Usually you see him show up as a side credit. He's not typically the dude was directing a bunch of them, but he's had his hand in them, and he's been or was with the studio for many, many years. It was produced obviously by Charles Band and Carol Cottonbrook, who I'm not sure how she works into it. I think that might be the first time I've seen that name pop up. I could be wrong. As you saw in the trailer there, we got James Hong up in there. We've also got Louise Fletcher.
You're not put
David
upon
P.
us just to
Croft.
get it, Mr. Button.
And we've got Miguel Nunez, and thankfully no enchiladas this time around. So
Oh.
he's safe from their dastardly magic.
At least he didn't die on the toilet like he did in Friday the 13th 5.
True, yeah. He was drinking a lot of Coke though, so I do wonder about his health. But
Yeah,
I guess
he might have the diabetes.
he's actually doing fine now with his Fountain of Youth thing that he's selling around at conventions and stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
No, but I remember I saw him in that, what was it, Juana Man or something, like maybe 15 some years ago, and he looked exactly the same as he did in the 90s.
Dude, yeah, he might even look younger now. So if I don't know what it is that they're doing. I forget exactly when he explained it because it sounded like some snake oil shit. But the more I think about it, it's doing something for him. So,
nice,
because he still looks great. And he's pretty heavily in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think his death might be the only one that happened. Does it happen off screen?
I
think it happens. He's like,
I think everybody's kind of happens off screen.
Yeah, there's not too much in the way of direct gore in this, though. There is some gore or some gory effects, rather.
Yeah,
it's all like post-mortem stuff, autopsy scenes, and
just
shit like
the one big one at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
That's
you can't. Well, we're gonna get to that.
Yeah,
There's a lot that needs to be said about that scene.
Yes.
So, what was your general first impressions when you saw this? I mean, they go a long ways as far as trying to market it as like, beyond the Thing, beyond Alien. There's Shadowzone.
Not quite.
Yeah, I don't know if I would put it on that level, but
for a Full Moon, you got to figure it had like probably got 1.5 million budget or something like that. Little cheapy pot boiler. You're stuck in a bunker kind of movie. The idea behind it, I thought, ended up being pretty creative, I guess. I wish that we got to see the actual, like, what the creature does. It kind of bugged me that we never actually see the follow through from when it attacks people. Like you just kind of see like the big like shock, and then oh, I guess they're dead now, kind of thing. But like the whole idea of like the sleep, like the dream state being like a gateway to like a parallel dimension kind of thing, kind of interested me a lot. I thought that was kind of cool. I like the characters. Like they didn't really think they were doing anything wrong. But in the end, they kind of get what's coming to them, kind of thing. But I really ended up enjoying it for what it is. It's just like a one set kind of movie, and they kept it interesting. They kept the characters were kind of likable, and it was fun, for what it is.
Yeah, it does a good job of, I guess, capturing that claustrophobic alien sort of vibe where it's like a reverse Siege movie almost. Like they're all stuck in the place with the Thing.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. Like you said, the whole idea of it is probably a lot cooler than it is in practice, It feels like they had a really great idea, and then they just sort of made the movie and didn't take the time to maybe flesh out the good idea a little bit
to me,
more.
it felt like it was maybe edited like
Yeah,
some of the stuff was cut out that would have made it make a little bit more sense and made it a little bit more exciting. And like I said, when it comes to like a kill scene or something like that, you don't really see anything happen. You just kind of see like the thing that the person is afraid of or whatever, and then it just kind of just cuts away. And it just feels like it was maybe edited a little bit too much.
which is
Or
strange because there's all
maybe they were
types of
setting it up for a
flaccid man
sequel
meat
where they
and-
would expand upon it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like there could be some of that going on. It definitely feels like maybe some bits of it were trimmed for whatever
rating?
reason when it
Maybe
comes
a
to
rating?
the kills. Which is weird because, like, again, there's like a bunch of flaccid man meat in there, and
Chesticles flopping around.
a fucking full head explodes, but then
Yeah.
they said, like, clearly you see more of the rat from that one kill scene in that trailer than you actually do in the finished movie. It's like a brief couple of frames of slow-mo rat face coming out of the wall, and that's it, you know.
I mean, it's easy to figure out what's going on, but I mean, I just wish that there was just a little bit more follow through on those scenes. I guess that just kind of got on my nerves a little bit.
And that's fair, you know. It does feel like the science too behind whatever's going on is just sort of, not that we need it to be.
It's like, oh, we're going to level
infinitely
37.
but yeah, there's not really much
Like, what's that?
like exploration into the idea or how they came to this conclusion that you know, there was these other beings that live on the other side of this like thing that you can use these people as a tuning fork to tune into or whatever. So it just feels like maybe if they made the movie a couple of years later and took some time to flesh the idea out a little bit more and maybe threw a little bit more money at it effects wise, it could have turned out better. But that being said, it's still a pretty fun, grody little like claustrophobic sci-fi horror flick. Louise Fletcher being in there, what's it, Nurse Ratchet from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. She's always fun to see as these types of characters where she's like sort of an unhinged doctor, but maybe not completely evil, you know, like she has some good intentions, but she's just swept up in whatever pursuit.
Yeah, she's kind of willing to let people die in order to get what she wants, kind of thing. But
I had a feeling that she didn't really know what to do with her hands a ton in this because she used a lot of fucking chapstick. But
because like I as a filmmaker, I took like a bunch of directing classes, and one of the things they tell a director is always have somebody doing something, but don't use a prop. Like a prop just draws attention to itself instead of the person's performance. Like it draws the attention away. So like whenever I saw her with the chapstick, and I was just like, that was rule number 1 we were taught in class.
And they break it a bunch, dude.
Oh,
if
God.
you made a drinking game out of that chapstick, you'd be fucking thrashed before the movie even is up and going because she used it probably 8 times in the space of maybe 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. I think just about every other time that the camera's just...
It was like whenever she was alone, she was just fucking going all Silence of the Lambs on her lips and shit.
It's an older woman thing. I hate to see how chapped the rest of her is if she needs that much on her lips, especially in such a dank environment.
Like, I'm going to be kissing on that alien. Gotta have the moist lippage.
Her and James Hong were probably into it too.
Like, Mrs. Fletcher.
His performance in this is somewhat regrettable. They got him doing the whole thing where he can't quite deliver the English sort of like phrases or whatever. And
he doesn't get the Star Trek jargon. Doesn't really. Yeah, he can't really figure out how to say it properly.
He threw a ratchet monkey into the mix or something.
Yeah,
it's just like what a cheap.
Yeah, I mean, I love James Hong. I think he's great. I've loved him ever since I saw him in Big Trouble in Little China. But like for here, it was just kind of like as I was watching, I was like, rent might have been due.
Yeah, I think it was, dude.
Or maybe I had a car payment.
His name doesn't even make sense in it either. I mean, he's got like the most white dude science.
Yeah, I'm from Wyoming.
He's what's it, Dr. Van Fleet.
Yeah,
I'm supposed to believe that's James.
I think they were just like, oh, James Hong's interested. Let's do it. Should we rename the character?
So.
Nah, it's all right.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
he could sound like some fucking country club white dude from wherever the hell scientists like that typically come from. I mean, to be fair though, he's only in the movie for a little bit, so
yeah,
we don't
like maybe the first 20-ish minutes.
Just about, yeah. And part of that is like just him not even being on screen. You're meeting the other characters at first, and they're like picking up our NASA sort of investigator dude. He basically is just sort of he's kind of this movie's version of that guy that was in fucking Crash and Burn. I forget his name at the moment, where they're just sort of everyman looking hero type dudes. They look like they could be, the real life version of like a playable Contra character. Captain Hickok is the dude played by David Beecroft. He's just got a good look to him, man, of that 90s sort of sci-fi hero.
Yeah, he sold it.
He really does. You fully believe that this guy is an actual investigator in there, and he's not taking no for an answer from these people, which is cool. He brings a good morality to the scene, if you will, because he's not interested in just letting it go forward because the research might benefit their space travel or whatever.
Yeah. That scene where he was, I think it was when he went inside the chamber when they were doing the first test with the male character that was in the hyperbaric chamber thing. And just the way he was like leaning and they're staring at the person.
Yeah,
I was sitting there going like,
in every little
I was just like, well, this guy's like he's in it. Like as an actor, you can tell he was just kind of like, I got to make it look like I'm extremely concerned for this person's safety, kind of thing. And then the moment he turns his head,
so that's basically the premise of this film, is that these guys out at Jackass Flats, I believe, is where the place is located. It's this old, Cold War facility that they're using to do this sleep research on people. And basically the whole idea is that they're able to put them in this super, super deep state of sleep. And the idea, I guess, or at least what they've told NASA, is that, this could help for deep space flight. It would allow you to basically put people into a cryo sleep type state, I guess, but without all the freezing and that junk. They're just
it's like a controllable coma kind of thing.
Exactly. I think it boils down to them basically electronically severing their brain stem and then somehow being able to reattach it, maybe. I don't know. You get the idea once it starts unfolding that they weren't really interested in researching it in that way.
I was going to say, you sever someone's brainstem, that means that they're basically paralyzed, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much, and just dead if they're not kept, hooked to machines.
Like, the heart stopped beating. I wonder why.
Yeah. And basically, like I said, you get kind of the idea that Van Fleet and old Nurse Ratchet were really more concerned with just the potential of contacting this other dimension. Shit gets kind of crazy before they really get to explain themselves too much.
Yeah, they never really say if the intention was that they knew that this would happen or if it was a byproduct of the experiment and they were just kind of like, ooh, we got to exploit this.
Right. Yeah, and it very well could have started as that and turned into the other, because she knows an awful lot about it once the shit kicks off and the cat's out of the bag, so to speak. But he's in there, investigating this because they'd previously had a death. And that's already kind of suspicious right from the onset, because he shows up and they've already done like a full-on autopsy dissection to the corpse.
Which is pretty gnarly.
It is. And they've just got it out with like monkeys running around the place, splattering it on Nurse Ratchet.
Yep. She's like, oh, you stupid monkey. What the hell?
Maybe that's why she's so fucking nervous with the chapstick, is that monkey too, because there's a part where it grabs Louise Fletcher in the cage and she looks legitimately annoyed, where she's like, hey, stop that or whatever. And it feels like she breaks character for a minute.
Yeah, she must not be a fan of them.
Tylord says Dreamscape meets From Beyond. Yeah, there's some elements of From Beyond in there for sure. Dreamscape, definitely, I could see the connection. You take that stuff, you throw in, I guess, a dash of Alien, and that's pretty much it, actually. A dash of Alien. You could say The Thing, but it's not really turning into people, so that I don't understand.
Yeah, I think maybe just the shape-shifting part of it.
Yeah,
I guess.
I suppose that element of it. Hey, what's up, Michael? The stream's official. So basically, he's investigating this because his previous death. He forces them to recreate the same parameters of the experiment that were going on when the first person died. They're claiming that it's a stroke the whole time, but they know damn well that he got killed because of this experiment, And that's basically replicated in dramatic fashion with the exploding of our random, well-endowed male patient. And, there's this entity from this other side, from this dream dimension, that is now loose in the facility with them, running around and turning into sort of their worst fears. I guess there's a little Event Horizon kind of a thing there too, maybe.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that was
little,
part
yeah,
of the
kind of The
gimmick there, maybe.
Shining.
Yeah. So it's turning into random things, and often people, they're all stuck in this facility. You know, it's designed basically if there's like a containment breach to lock
Yep.
them all in there, because it was like an old nuclear Cold War type facility. So it's basically Hickok, our NASA guy, stuck down there with Louise Fletcher. You know, Miguel Nunez, who I think plays like
He's like the tech.
what was
He's
his
like the
name,
tech
Wiley?
guy.
Yeah. Yeah, Wiley. He's their computer engineer dude. Basically just drinks a bunch of Coke and types on a keyboard and is generally likable because he's Miguel Nunez, you know.
Yeah.
And then we've got Mrs. Cutter, played by Lou Leonard. She's the cook, and she is great.
She's
and
always
then we've
playing that
also-
kind of a character.
pretty much. And then we've got Frederick Flynn as Shivers, who is, you know, the grody maintenance man that tries to keep the place running and basically does the best that he can with what he's got. But it's an old rundown Cold War facility, and he's the only dude doing anything to it. In addition to them, we've also got Sean Weatherly as Dr. Kidwell, and she's just sort of the younger scientist in there. I think she was in charge of, you know, keeping track of the test animals that they were using, but they'd since moved beyond that phase of the experiment. So she's just kind of hanging out and feeding monkeys. And that's the gist of it. You know, you got them running around in there. We get a couple of different transformations. You know, a couple of them make perfect sense. The first one, when old James Hong bites it, doesn't really make sense, but I feel like I remember reading that it's supposed to be like some type of Korean ghost or Chinese ghost or something.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, the hell?
Lady that like comes after him, or like a leprosy victim or something that's supposed to be specifically scary to like Asian people, I guess. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but that's
we'll have to read the novelization
at one point. So I don't know, man. I mean, you know, in general, I guess mainly the thing to talk about is just performances and effects and all that stuff, because there's not a lot of kills that take place, or any really that take place on screen, other than our exploding John Doe, which is pretty great. You know, kind of begs the question of why so much of it seemed to be so truncated when you've got a nice meaty scanner style head explosion like that in like the first 20 minutes of the movie. So
it's like, would it have hurt to see the giant rat bite Lou Leonard? Would it have hurt to see that? At least to see it bite her, so we know like it killed her,
or at least have her pull like a stump out of that hole in the wall.
Anything,
you know, there wasn't anything like that. It was just some blood on her face, and then it comes bursting out of the wall, which does have shades, I guess. It reminds me a little bit because there's the whole rat scene in Creepazoids. This one was arguably not as entertaining because they don't have a full-on brawl with the rat.
Maybe they just reused the prop.
Maybe the one that was on the plate. Yeah, in Creepazoids, the rat I think is like this big, so we don't get quite the monstrous rat bursting through the wall that we get in this, but you don't even get to see it. So
yeah, like the dust and the bricks are basically covering it up. I mean, you can kind of see what it is, but you get what it is.
Yeah, but it
looked like, you know, like I said, there's no follow through with any of these things. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, if they had actually shown the whole rat come out and then like attack her again, that'd have been beastly.
Yeah,
it was clearly sculpted pretty well from what little of it we got to see. The monkey is definitely a highlight, because there is a point later where, you know, obviously this thing, like, I think they kind of lost interest in the whole fears aspect of it and just started transforming shit, because the lady wasn't afraid of the monkey. It was like her pal, you know, but
yeah, she was taking care of him.
I mean, it makes sense to transform it into some type of fucking hell beast and have it attack her or whatever. It reminded me more of like, you know, what the monkey might have looked like in The Fly after he tried to send it through the thing or something, you know.
The Inside Out monkey.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he was trying to use it, or they were using the monkey to like get close to her so it could kill her, kind of thing. But like I said, nothing's really explained.
Yeah, it's just a sequence of, I guess, neat transformation creature effects that we don't get to see enough of, and these guys running around in this really cool set, which I will say the whole facility that they're in has a properly like run down, gross, drippy kind of a feel to it. The dude that plays Shivers especially does a great job of sharing like the claustrophobic terror of being trapped down there with whatever this thing is.
Yeah.
His death, I think, was another one of those ones where we don't really get to see anything, even less than the other ones. He's just kind of running around losing his fucking mind, and then he's dead.
And for some reason, the pipes spew cum.
Yeah, just all types of gross fluids
Yeah.
coming out of this. He probably should have been working on this a long time before this situation kicked off, because it becomes an issue.
Like, was he jacking off in the pipes or something?
And that's pretty much it, man. I think like the whole thing basically boils down to them, eventually just having to face off against the actual entity itself, which doesn't really have any like concrete form or shape, because it's like this abstract being from this other dimension. So he ends up just looking like a gross blob thing, which we did see momentarily in the trailer.
When they show the close up of it, it looks pretty cool. At least the face of it.
Oh yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's properly grody looking. And I can't remember for the life of me what they actually end up coming up with as a solution to this thing.
I
think it's like
they used the girl that was still in the hyperbaric chamber to open another path or another gateway, so it would escape, so it would get out. But then, obviously curiosity got the better of, Louise Fletcher's character.
Oh, yeah, and she decides to step into the portal, and that's when she's like, oh, there's thousands of them or whatever, which, like you said, is a cool setup for like a potential sort of sequel to this. There's definitely some material there that we could use for some things, Yeah, and then I think that's basically it without destroying the whole ending there. Obviously what you do when a situation like this happens is you just start setting fire to all the technology and hope for the best.
It's like, no one's going to recreate this ever.
Yeah. But, we all know they will. Those files are somewhere backed up, I would imagine. Even though those Asian scientists are fastidious folk. I think much like the Germans, they're big into record keeping and backing it up so that, even if they died, future generations could recreate that shit. And, as goofy as old Lopan seemed in this, he did seem to actually know what the fuck he was doing. And in a sense, tries to like kind of spare them the fate a little bit by sealing himself in there with the thing at first.
Yeah. He's like, this is my fault.
Common theme running through the film is curiosity or the need to know what the hell's going on, maybe making the situation a little bit more like worse than it should have been. But yeah, I mean that's kind of it, but I think old Beecroft's performance and Louise Fletcher do a lot to add some credibility to the movie. I think if they weren't in it, especially with David Beecroft, I think that this could have had a very cheesy vibe to it, but even the side characters are doing pretty good. I really like the whole interaction between Lou Leonard and Frederick Flynn, where she tries to serve him the rat for dessert and all that shit.
He like loses his mind.
Yeah. Because he's just totally, his glasses are like falling apart and shit. He's clearly got a lot on his plate. He can't even fix his own glasses properly. So maybe getting those things sealed up was the least of his worries. They explained pretty early on that like half of the facility is collapsed because of earthquakes and shit. So
perfectly safe.
Yeah, great place to be running, high-end government research or whatever. Clearly
let's run all these electricity cables through this place. Yeah, that's not gonna.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of fucking Shiver's job is just making sure they can get up and down the elevator. That thing seemed like it was ready to break at any moment, and probably does several times a week. And we find out that Lou Leonard used to run a whorehouse. That's why she's this cantankerous old lunch lady type, and it just makes perfect sense. She embodies those characters pretty well. And
what damn hookahs?
If anything, I feel like the only person who phones it in a little bit is David Hong, but he's in the movie so briefly, and they give him such god awful lines that I can't blame him. Like you said, he's probably just cutting a check. The one girl though that I swear that I've seen in other stuff that I can't place is that Sean Weatherly. Chick that plays
Police
Dr.
Academy 3.
Moreau. There we go. That's probably it too, because it was something
Because
I just saw.
it went through my mind while I was watching it too. I'm like, I know her from something. I know her from something. What have I seen her in? And then I was like, oh, I watched the Police Academy like 1 through 6 like less than a year ago. I'm like, that's how I know her.
See, we're currently on a trip through that again, and it's been a whole lot of fun. My kid is actually appreciating them a lot more than she did.
Oh, Bobcat.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with him.
Yeah,
It's too bad
the movies that he was in make me
made,
laugh so much. They're so stupid, but they're funny as hell.
Has he directed anything else since that Willow Creek movie?
Oh, I don't know. I was gonna say what he did. What was it? Shakes the Clown?
I feel like that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was like the big one that he did back in like the 90s.
I guess old Sean Weatherly was into a bunch of TV as well. She was in like T.J. Hooker, Dukes of Hazzards, A-Team, Happy Days. She did Matlock, Baywatch. She did
God.
Amityville, It's About Time.
Yeah, I remember that. She was the mother in that.
Can't
She was Megan Ward's mother.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
She might actually be in the age. Well, I don't know.
I remember it being kind of strange looking because they look like they're almost the same age.
Maybe I'll have to check that one out. I think
maybe it was a stepmother. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen It's About Time.
Yeah, honestly, I gotta admit, I'm not even sure that I knew that was a thing until right now. I've never really followed the Amityville stuff. I think I've seen the first two, and then Amityville 3D or whatever. The one with
just got the 3D version on Blu-ray.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I think I only rented the fourth one because it was there at the video store when I went.
Sounds like it went pretty much straight to the video store.
Yeah,
right?
I think it was the first one that
was a TV movie.
Yeah, there was one right before it. I think it's the fifth one. Yeah,
they made this many of these Amityville movies before they even started just letting anyone make them like they do now.
Yeah, as long as you don't mention the people that live there.
Oh, what the fuck? Yeah,
the characters from the original movie. As long as you don't mention them, it's like it's part of the public domain or something.
Yeah, so you can do shit like Amityville in Space or
I saw that.
And nobody can. A buddy of mine was just in a movie called Amityville Rideshare. Just keep doing it. At this point, I'm a fan of just the sheer stupidity of all of it. So just keep making them.
Amityville Sharknado. Come on, let's make it happen.
It's going to. I firmly believe that that's a possibility. But yeah, I mean, the other people that are in other stuff, I think it's, everybody knows Big Trouble in Little China, or at least most of the people that are watching this. So you should recognize David Hung. David Beecroft, or James Hung, David Beecroft, I feel like I might have seen that guy in something else as well. So let's give it a check here. Probably should have researched some of this before, but it's fun to find these out on the fly sometimes. He's got a look to him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's shown up in Baywatch or something as well.
Ty Lord.
I want Amityville Ninja or Amityville Kickboxer. Yeah, I could get behind that. They should make a movie called like Amityville Asthmatic. It's just about like an asthmatic kid that's haunted or something.
I just want to see like Amityville versus something.
Oh shit! He's in Creepshow 2. David Beecroft. And then a bunch of stuff I haven't seen. He's in a movie called Octopus from 2000, though. That looks like it could be a fun piece of shit.
Who was he in Creepshow 2?
He's Annie's lover, apparently, in Creepshow 2.
Oh, the guy, the one about the hitchhiker.
Oh, the hitchhiker. Okay.
He's the guy that she's sleeping with at the beginning before she leaves to go home.
And then I was right. Yeah, he's got that TV actor look to him, and he's in a ton of shit, dude. He's in like several soap operas, which makes sense given his look. He's got that like 90s heartthrob vibe. He's definitely also in Matlock.
I guess if you're an actor and was alive during the 80s and 90s, you're in an episode of Matlock.
It seems like a thing. Yeah, Matlock. The 18, there's a lot of motherfuckers that were in
it's like too, Matlock or Murder, She Wrote. You're in one of those.
Yeah, both him and Sean Weatherly were in Murder, She Wrote episodes. Melrose Place. Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Oh, God. I forgot about that.
For 6 episodes.
Wow.
I always think she was hot. My dad was big into watching.
I remember seeing Joan Seymour, or was it Jane Seymour in Live and Let Die?
Seymour, is that the one where he's going against the Voodoo Gang?
Yeah, Mr. Big.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's one of those better Bond movies from that time, I feel like. I was never huge into Roger Moore, but there's a couple of them that I enjoy quite a bit. I know that's probably it's the unpopular opinion there. Who's sturdier, him or I don't know, man. Studlier?
Who's Deal? The guy that the main pilot?
Yeah, the dude, that cigar chopping fucking
oh god
jock guy that's like making all those faces and shaking
Mr. Sarcasm.
I'd give it to David B. Croft, man. He's got a bit of that, more of that chiseled Contra look to him that I really like, where he could just. I wonder how good of a forward somersault, standing somersault he has in midair. That'd be. It'd be nice. We put a little trampoline down there. I'm sure he could do those Contra jumps just fine. Yeah, I'd give it to him. You know, the dude in Robot Wars has a bit more of like a cowboyish kind of a thing going, so I can understand how that could be appealing. But I like a bit more of the refined, like warrior look that this.
Yeah, serious. Like I have seen some shit.
Yeah, and he's a much better actor. I don't think there's any disputing that. I mean, he really does hold this movie up several levels above what it would be without him. There's really no, because that's the beauty of a movie that's so self-contained like this too, is there's not a lot of people on the cast to be a weak link. The weakest link is James Hong, and he's dead like 10 minutes after coming on the screen.
Yeah, after you meet him, yeah.
He just came in there, got paid for the day, and fucked off, you know. And it's a better movie for it. If he'd been in there delivering those lines for much longer, they'd probably lose a full star.
Like Mr. Exposition to be like, oh, just stop. But like Louise Fletcher, though, that is like the last person I thought I would ever see in a full moon movie. I mean, this is before like full moon had become like a thing.
Yeah.
You know, but like I remember like she has an Oscar. She was in like a bunch of movies that I remember watching as a kid that were like big Hollywood blockbuster types, like Firestarter and Brainstorm and all these other things. And this is like, and then, hey, I'm going to do this little low budget thing over here. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's a nice surprise. She certainly was no stranger to like genre films like this, but not slumming it in like some straight to video capacity like this. Shadowzone is OG full moon as it gets, really. It's in the first 3 movies that they did as a company.
Yeah,
it's one of only 3 movies they did as, I think it was Full Moon Productions before they changed to Full Moon Entertainment.
Yeah.
So even though it says Full Moon Entertainment at the beginning of that trailer, that was tacked on for like the VHS trailers. It was, the movie came out before that was even a thing.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. You know, it's this one, Meridian, and the first Puppet Master are like, you know, the original 3, the trio of movies that Full Moon kicked out onto the shelves when they.
Just makes me wonder why he kept changing the name.
I don't know. I think because they went through from Full Moon Productions to Full Moon Entertainment, and then they've also been Full Moon Features. So that's at least 3 different times he's changed it. I feel like there's at least one other one in there.
But yeah, like. When I watched it like a month ago, when I was like, oh yeah, I forgot Louise Fletcher was in this, and I'm watching, and I was like, she's not, you know, phoning this shit in. You know, she was actually like, it just makes me wonder if maybe the script was what brought her in. Maybe they proposed to her, you know, would you want to star in this thing with us? And the script was what got her.
And was like, that's pretty interesting idea, actually. Yeah, I'm definitely down.
And then saw the final cut and was like,
maybe whatever white guy they fucking were supposed to be, Dr. Van Fleet, could have been a selling point too. And then they lost that dude, and they're like, James Hong will work.
Yeah, James Hong got to eat.
I wonder if she showed up on set and was shocked that the dude from Big Trouble was there.
Like, you said it was supposed to be Brad Pitt.
Well, it's James Hong. Indeed. Hey man, it's fine. You know, I love the dude. Lopan is such a fucking creepy character. It is a master stroke of like, you know, makeup work. I think too. He was really, because he looks old as fuck anyways, but he really embodied that like living corpse vibe of Lopan when he was playing the character.
Yeah, you could tell he was having like a blast. He's like, I've never played a part like this before.
Yeah, it had to have been fun being on in all those elaborate costumes and makeup, because when he's young Lopan, he looks pretty beastly. Yeah, just good stuff. So it's cool that they were able to get some real talent in this. It's cool that they didn't try to make it like bigger than it is, because I think that would have worked against some of the real tension that the movie builds up. I think it's really only failing point is lack of delivery when it comes to the violence, you know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, does hurt it, but not enough to make it like a movie I wouldn't recommend.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely watch it again. It's just one of those things where as I'm watching it, I'm like, that scene that you just cut around is like your bread and butter.
Yeah.
So why are you skimping on it? I don't get the thought process behind it. Maybe okay, so maybe it was too violent and they were trying not to get an X rating or an NC-17 or whatever.
There's a solid like 15-second tracking shot that pans around a guy's flaccid penis.
Yeah, I know. That's the
like
thing.
Front and center in
the only screen. Other thing I could possibly think of is maybe the effects work was shoddy and it didn't look good, and they just kind of went like, like maybe just make him use your imagination.
They didn't have the time or money to go like reshoot all of it, so they had to stitch it. But then when you see that head explosion, it's like
that could have been the thing they put the most effort into, and everything else is just kind of like, we don't have a whole lot of money to finish the rest of these effects.
True, yeah, but even that they quick cut it pretty fast as well. It's not like the Scanner's head explosion where it kind of lingers on screen for a minute.
Yeah,
it just sort of happens, then
just
the window
pops.
Explodes. I like the whole touch too of that, like that steel barrier coming down afterwards, and it really gives you that sense like, oh shit, they're sealed in this motherfucker now too. Yeah, I don't know. That's really the only thing hurting it. And again, it doesn't really hurt the movie enough to take. I mean, this would have been a solid rental for me back in the day if I had been, familiar with it at the time. I imagine it would have been regular in the rotation.
After watching it, I kind of wish that it was one that I had seen back then, because I'd probably have more of an affinity than I do right now. I mean, don't get me wrong, I really like it. I think it's kind of cool for one of their movies. It's different from a lot of the movies that they've made.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate it for like not just trying to stick with like their normal formula. Like, we're gonna put some small things running around.
Yeah, it goes more, like I said, in the direction of like Crash and Burn, where it's more like traditional minimalist sci-fi horror. It would have been kind of funny if they had a random giant robot sleeping through most of the movie, and then it got up for like 30 seconds at the end. It would have been cool to just
look at that little guy, I'm gonna step on him.
Yeah, squish the end.
It's like, oh, I don't work anymore.
I don't know. I guess we could do favorite scenes, in terms of like the transformations or the kills. I think the monkey's pretty high up there for me, and the whole reveal of the actual entity is pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
It's hard not to like that head explosion. I don't know, what you got, like a favorite if you had to choose one?
It's kind of as much as I like the exploding head, I think I like the reveal of the creature the most, just because it looks so odd.
Yeah.
And like the eyes, they made the eyes like all glossy and all that. And I'm sitting there going like, geez, is that a guy in a suit or is that like a fake head? I'm like, because I couldn't really tell. And then I was like, oh no, the eyes are way too wide for it to be a person in a suit. But I was just like it looks familiar because it has kind of a face, but at the same time, it's just like all stringy and gross. And it kind of made me like unsettled a little bit, kind of disturbed me a little bit. So like just for the creative, for all I know, that's the reason why there was no other effects, is because the design, all the money went into designing that thing.
And the fair play, because it does look real good. It's really unique. I mean, if it had been whatever that alien is on the cover art, that'd have been kind of hokey. I think,
That's maybe that's one of the reasons why I never rented it back in the day. Maybe because I was just kind of like, monster running around a lab coat.
Yeah, what the fuck is this? It's instead they went much more for a design that you could believe being like this strange abstract creature from another dimension that's probably taking everything it has just to hold itself together in that much of a physical form. You
Mm.
know what I mean? When it's not mimicking something else, you know. So I guess that's kind of got a little bit of that Thing vibe to it too.
Yeah,
How
even
it's
the sounds it makes, like when it's creeping on the girl that's opened up the path or the gateway to get back to where it's from. Just that the
right.
noises it's making when it's like creeping on, it's like breathing heavy and kind of half moaning. Sometimes it's just like,
Yeah, like it might be in a little bit of pain or something, you know.
yeah, it's weird. But yeah,
It's a
that when
cool
I first,
different.
yeah,
Go
because
ahead.
I kind of when I was watching it the first time about a month ago, I fell asleep briefly in my recliner, and when I woke up, I was staring at that fucking thing,
Oh shit.
and I went like, "Is this the same movie?" Like, did
Yeah,
it
what
link
the
to
hell
something
happened
else?
here?
So like I
That's not
rewound it. I
James
was like, oh, I
Hong.
was only sleeping for maybe 3 minutes of it. I was just like, but Jesus, like it freaked me out.
I think the lamest thing in it, in terms of like the creature effects and stuff, is just whatever that bumpy like Chinese ghost thing is that gets James Hong. Because there's no, I remember reading. I don't remember where I read it either, because I didn't see it on the Wikipedia, so it had to have been on like, I
Like
don't
a
know, the
Fangoria or
IMDb
something.
or something, or maybe in something like that. Or it could have been, there's been a couple articles on Shadowzone and those Delirium issues too, so it's possible I read it in there. But I feel like it said that it was like, oh, it's some type of Chinese ghost, like leprosy ghost or something like that, and it's like, okay. I
But
mean,
nice, we
maybe if
got
we were
that
gonna go,
information.
well, if they were gonna put a Chinese ghost in there, they couldn't have changed his name from Van Fleet. Like, what? Is he fucking adopted by some country club family? What? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Um, but I mean, and it just looks dumb. It looks like something you'd see in an episode of fucking Tales from the Crypt or something. I don't know. It just doesn't fit the vibe of the rest of the stuff in the film, because you
yeah,
know, in addition to that, we've got like the inside out fucking teleporter monkey, and then we've got the giant rat, and then the actual creature itself. And then just for some reason, there's a bumpy leprosy ghost in like a prom dress that shows up for a couple of
yeah.
frames.
I forgot it was like an address. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super weird and random. So that'd be my vote for like the worst element of it. But much like James Hong's performance, it happens so rapidly that you don't have time to really feel one way or the other about it. It's just kind of over.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, what was that? Oh, whatever.
movie was shot pretty damn good too. I'll give him
Yeah.
that. There was some
Uh,
real cool lighting going on in there. There was some cool different cuts, and it was clearly like shot with an eye for it looking good. You know, they weren't just doing it fast and dirty. It didn't feel like.
yeah. My one of the things that I always like take issue with when it comes to movies like this is that darkness is scary. Which you can't see, and a lot of these movies like that are filmed with way too much light
Yeah,
to
or
be
they
like
take it.
to be like effective. So like it was nice to see that, like when they were showing the tunnels and stuff, it was like I can't see the end of that fucker.
Yeah, dude,
That's scary.
or like the autopsy where he's having that dream sequence and he's like crawling through the air vents, and then he's like looking
Oh
in on
yeah.
them while they're doing the random autopsy, and it's like super dark and then lit all red, so it just has this fucked up like Freddy boiler room kind of a feel to
Mhm.
it or something. And yeah, it's just good stuff.
Yeah,
And she
lighting
tries to
is
offer him
everything
the
in a
hard
horror movie.
truth.
Like if you fuck up that lighting, like you can basically make a movie like scare free.
Yeah, pretty much. Because what's scary about it just being perfectly,
Yeah, well lit. Like
regular
I could.
fucking.
Oh, it's got a rim light. Oh, that's so cool. No, I want it to freak me the fuck out.
We don't need it.
Yeah.
Musically, the movie is pretty sound too. I like how Richard Band's score is kind of like somewhere between. I mean, I don't think he did the music for Crash and Burn. I forget who did it right now, but it's got a little bit of that vibe to it, but like also a little bit of a Demonic Toys vibe to it or something.
Yeah.
Like it's one
Kind
of
of
his
reminded me a little
slower,
bit of like
more.
Front Beyond almost.
Yeah, it's got a strange sort of chilled out but bizarre vibe to it. It's not one of his more boisterous, flamboyant scores or whatever.
Yeah, there
And
wasn't
it
really like
worked.
a main theme. I don't remember,
Nah, not really.
but for the most part, I remember it worked pretty well with what was going on in the movie.
Yeah, probably not one of his scores you're gonna spin up and listen to recreationally a bunch, but I respect that, because he's kind of known for those bigger scores, I guess.
Yeah.
The more catchy, hooky scores, and it's cool when you see him when you can see that he has the ability to rein it in to fit the tone of what they're doing. You know, he's not a one trick pony when it comes to just having all of his scores sound the same all the time. You know?
Yeah, it was kind of like the director said, "Hey, could you just give me something atmospheric?"
Yeah,
he's like,
and he
"I
was
can
like,
do that.
yeah,
I don't need to have any like major motifs or anything like that. I'll just keep it low key."
I'm not always copying Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
We could do this.
Not even when Danny Elfman does the score for one of the or part of the score from one of the movies that we're doing.
Right. Yeah, so that's good. I think this movie is a great example of, yeah, it kind of lets you down a little bit in some of the areas where not necessarily the effects, but just the violence, the kills. It lets you down in that aspect, but all the other parts that come together to make the movie are solid and well crafted enough that it's like you can kind of forgive it, you know.
Yeah.
I
think the payoff at the end is kind of worth it.
That is true as well, you know, and the whole idea that this isn't a singular entity, there's thousands of them.
Yeah, it's actually like a world on the other side of that doorway.
I love it. It reminds me of like when Doom, the one that's just called Doom. I forget what year it came out, for like Xbox and PC and shit. And there's like the PDFs, and there's one where it's talking about how when they first sent the probe through to Mars, and at first, like the first few times, it was nothing. It was just like blackness. But then one of the times they sent it through, there was like a fucking eye looking right into the probe.
Yeah.
And just the idea of that fucking terrifies me, you know. So the prospect of there being like more of those things on the other side of this that are just lurking over there waiting for a way to get through it's pretty great. Because there's something truly terrifying about the idea of that, you know. It's almost like when you think about what could be living at the bottom of the ocean, you know.
Yeah.
Strange otherworldly life that we don't understand but could probably devour us in an instant is it's a scary prospect, you know.
It's something as simple as sleeping too hard could possibly bring one of these into our dimension.
So there's
like, I'm tired. I fucked the world.
There's days I do wish I could attain that F-31 level fucking REM sleep or whatever they're talking about. Maybe not exploding, but I could deal with those veins for a while if it meant an extra good 8 hours, you know.
She could be all veiny as long as she looked like that lady in that hyperbaric chamber.
True enough. Now let it be known, there isn't just flaccid man meat in this. There's some lady bush and some pretty nice tits as well. So, you know, it's
I
even
approve.
playing field in those cryo chambers. It's not a sausage fest the whole time.
It's equal opportunity nudity.
Yeah, that tracking shot. I don't know why they chose that. That's maybe it's like I get it. I'm not that uncomfortable by a dude's dick.
No, but
I don't know that I would have framed it in the center and
it's almost
all the
to
way
me
around it.
Yeah, to me it was almost like the director was like, "You thought I was going to do this for the woman, didn't you?"
Yeah, no. We wish, Tyler, but mostly background tits.
Yeah, it's always just kind of like there in the background. It's like whenever they were in that room, just it's like, oh yeah, the tits are over there. Hey,
yeah,
I see you.
I guess maybe, you know, he was leaning real close to that glass too, and those tits in the back must.
Yeah, maybe he wasn't watching the panel as much as he was watching her.
Yeah, checking out that reflection.
Like,
I guess too, you know, if we talk about the tech in this, it seems serviceable. You know, they don't show enough computery stuff to where it's like, because you know what I mean, like certain sci-fi, they'll show too much of all the computers where you start to notice that it's like that's a fucking toaster oven, bro, and that's
yeah, those are egg cartons over there that are painted silver.
Exactly. This is real sort of conservative with it. You know, we see a little bit of it in the control room, and there's one scene where it shows like a computer bank, and then later I think it shows the same computer bank explode, and then we see a little bit of it later, but mostly the tech that you're seeing is like their little headsets and the cryo chambers and stuff, and it all looks convincing enough that I don't feel like it's, I mean, I'm sure it was just cheap shit thrown together to look high tech.
It's like Charlie Band gave the production designer $30,000 and dropped him off at a Radio Shack.
Yeah, and then they grabbed like some old drying stations from like some weird 70s disco salon or something and just refurbished them to be those cryo chambers or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I mean, they don't linger on it too much to where it's like you have time to really examine too much of it closely.
Yeah. It
So
looks
that's a credit
appropriate for
to
the
it.
time.
Yeah. I don't know if the rest of the facility they had there was some type of pre-existing facility, because I know they were big fans of like renting out parts of old sort of like factories and shit to shoot some of this stuff back in the day.
Honestly, it
But
looked
it
like it
looks
could have been the same sets from Crash and Burn that they just like painted a different color.
right. Yeah. Rearranged how they shot it, Babylon
Yeah.
5 style. So it looks like it's a different
Yeah, it's like from
configuration
this
or
angle,
something.
everything will be brown, and that's Crash and Burn. And from this angle, everything is silver and gray for Shadowzone.
Yeah. If we really feeling frisky, we can throw an orange light in the background there at certain points and it'll feel real sweaty,
Thrifty.
Yeah. But it works, and whatever location they had for where they picked them up at, I'm sure they just threw up a fake chain link fence with some signs. It's obviously not a real government base, but hey, it looks fine. It
Yeah.
looks like a place where you would pick up some random NASA guy to investigate your sleep experiments. I don't know. So no complaints production design wise or anything like that. All looks real good, sounds real good. Shot real good, so no complaints on any of that. I don't even think that the lack of violence, because would the movie be better if there was like some splattery scenes? Sure, but it's all just gonna get cut out when it got broadcast on TV anyway. So maybe that's sort of what they were looking at with it too, is like they knew they were going straight to video, but I'm sure Charles knew he was also going to shoot heavily into his shot into the cable market with them. And this might just be an example of one where they kind of trimmed some stuff a bit extra beforehand to save time doing that. So who knows? Maybe we'll get like a remastered Shadowzone someday that has
Come on, Charlie.
all the extended scenes back in it or something. Because it is a movie I wouldn't mind seeing remastered as well.
Yeah, I would definitely
looks
buy a
pretty
copy
damn
on Blu-ray.
good.
Yeah,
For sure. Yeah, just for the cover art and whatever special features they probably won't put on there. And
we get some interviews with some of the stars using
But
the
it
Video
doesn't-
Zone action. There was no Video Zone for this, was there? That was before Video Zone, wasn't it?
there might be a vintage Video Zone for this one, actually.
Since I never
it
rented
was
it, I can
before
never
they did Video Zones, but there might be some type of there might be. Let me see, because they upload a lot of those vintage ones onto the streaming site. So
yeah, that's since I never rented. I wouldn't know if it actually had one or not.
Shadowzone.
Yeah, it turned out that there was a lot more full moon movies that I thought I had seen but hadn't when I got around to watching them on Tubi. It surprised the hell out of me.
Nothing's coming up in terms of a listing for it, but it does look like there might be like an extended trailer from a laser disc. I'm nerdy enough that I would like to see that, but obviously not a priority. Hey, what's up, Brian? I'm pretty sure that you would enjoy Shadowzone if you haven't seen it, but there's a good chance he actually has. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it's a movie that probably I think a lot of people could get into too if they released a new remastered version of it. I feel like it's kind of one of those full moon movies that a lot of people need to be reminded it's a full moon movie, because it's just not one most people associate with it because it's such an early one,
But then again, like you said, that they had the original trilogy. You got Meridian, Puppet Master, and Shadowzone. Those are all good entry level full moon movies right there.
Oh yeah, fantastic ones actually. Even as kinky as Meridian gets, it's like good foreshadowing for some of the kinkier stuff they would do later.
Yeah, way later in the 90s.
Taste of some of their gothic horror that they would get real good at doing later in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is a real good trio of films to cut your teeth on.
So go for the Full Moon Productions trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they changed it to entertainment. I think Full Moon Productions sounds a little bit more high class, but maybe that was a rare moment where Charles was trying to be more honest than normal. He's like, I don't know, production sounds loftier than what we do.
Yeah, we're making movies where there's a lot of like monster sex going on in some of these, so maybe we should just turn it to entertainment, like wrestling.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, maybe they stole a page from Charles with the WWE later on when they realized they couldn't try to sell it as something it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, here's a question for you. Let's say that they did make a sequel to this, like based off of the final line in the movie from Louise Fletcher. Like, where would you think that would have gone?
Oh, I don't know. Honestly, probably to pre-production and then canceled.
Yeah.
When they realized
I
they
don't
didn't
know,
have the
man. This
money.
is going to be kind of an expensive movie.
Exactly. I think that's where it would have gone. But in
Yeah.
a perfect world, if it actually happened, I feel like it's ripe for crossover material there to bring other people involved in it and do something. I'm sure that we very well might be unveiling at a later date. But there's just so many cool possibilities with that. I mean, the whole idea of there being this whole society of fucked up being, or what would you even call it? A society? Maybe not.
No, but
Maybe they
like
would just come
a
spewing
like a
through
race. Yeah. But like I could totally see them going the alien route, and like this movie was Alien, and then the sequel is like Aliens, or like we bring the fight to them kind of thing.
They're
I
fighting,
could
like,
I could
teams
have
of people
totally
through.
seen Charlie Band going like, "Fuck it, let's make our own aliens."
Yeah,
I could totally see that, but obviously that would have required.
Gets Louise Fletcher through that fucking portal, and
Yeah, the first thing they see when they walk through the portals are like just desiccated corpse on the ground or some shit.
they go through, and it's just Kurt Russell and all those guys from Stargate over there.
Like the fuck?
Wrong movie. Whoops.
Yeah, there's oh god, what was the guy from oh god, he was on that sitcom from the 90s about the aliens that were pretending to be human.
Oh, Alien Nation?
No, Third Rock from the Sun.
Oh.
Who was the annoying guy?
Well, I mean, depending on your taste, that could be either Harry or Dick. French Stewart was Harry.
Yeah, French Stewart. French Stewart was in Stargate. Like they'd walk through and you'd see like Louise Fletcher's corpse on the ground. There's French Stewart standing there going, "They're supposed to get us home."
Well, that's not okay.
Yeah,
that voice that he would do. I love Harry. One of the best. I had a memory pop up the other day on Facebook of a Third Rock like dialogue exchange that I shared, where it's him talking to Tommy, and he's like, "One day, a long time from now, or whatever, we'll be able to point at that bespectacled man with the sock hat and proudly exclaim, 'There's Waldo!'" And Tommy just goes, "Harry, Waldo's a fictional character." And Harry just says, that it'll be all the more sweet when we find him. Like, brilliant. That's the type of writing I live for right there. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I think that you're probably more. I don't see them bringing it through to our world. That would take far too many special effects. But you could easily do like a soundstage version of Alien or Aliens with this concept and a whole lot of squibs and things like that, and different transformations. Hopefully, extended kill scenes. Louise Fletcher could even be in it, maybe in some version of herself.
Yeah, because you got to know that Ripley is definitely Hickok, and he'd go with to oversee the whole thing, and then his greatest fear was running into Louise Fletcher again.
Hell yeah, put the chapstick on him.
Yeah, just to see this big chapstick monster coming their way.
Your lips are looking a little dry,
Sonny. Oh, you chafed, boy.
No, it's just it definitely is a shame they didn't revisit this idea in some capacity, or some of these crossovers that we talk about couldn't have happened to, because it's just so ripe for that kind of a thing. It could easily mix in with just about anything from Full Moon's Arsenal and make sense, and that's pretty beautiful.
And the thing with them is, it always felt like, at least to me when I was watching these back in the day, was like every time a new IP was released through them, that I felt like it was setting up like a franchise like Puppet Master or something. I felt like they were always trying to set up sequel bait. Like they were just going to keep making sequels, all these different movies. And the only ones you ever got real sequels to were like Trancers and Puppet Master and Sort of Demonic Toys.
Yeah, and on a smaller scale, I mean, we did get like Invisible, but it's debatable if you could even call that a traditional sequel in the same sense as some of that other
Then we got the Subspecies movies got sequels, but outside of that, like I always felt like when I was watching one of them, I was just like, oh, this is the first part of a series. Like I remember when I rented Demonic Toys the first time, I was like, this is probably going to be the first part of a series. It's going to be something that's parallel to the Puppet Master films, obviously. stuff like that.
Ryan says Shocking Dark was proof you could do aliens on no budget. I'm not sure if I've seen that one.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
Shocking Dark.
But like, it was always shocking when like a sequel would never materialize for one of these movies that they were making.
Well, I mean, with the gift of hindsight,
Yeah.
now I don't think it's shocking. But yeah, I feel you. I mean, I think that they fully intended to do sequels to just about all of it because, that's how Charles works. So I think he was just throwing whatever shit out there that they could. Some of it stuck and just easily generated its own sequels. And then there was other stuff like this that I guess he figured there wasn't enough interest in. And that's probably accurate with this. I'm sure it couldn't have gotten anywhere near as many rentals as obviously Puppet Master or even Meridian out of that first trilogy, or there'd be a lot more people that talk about Shadows.
Yeah, because Twin Peaks was pretty popular when Meridian came out, so Sherilyn Fenn's name on the poster would have brought in some money. But like Louise Fletcher,
a couple other things would have sold that pretty well, even without Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
A different kind
of Twin Peaks. No, you did not. But like, put Louise Fletcher's name on the poster, and like my dad would want to rent it.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure that my dad would have been pleasantly surprised by this one.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that man dick would have gotten it shut off right away.
Yeah, my dad would have been like, nope. No.
That panning shot of that fucking flaccid member, my dad would have. We're taking it back.
I remember my dad stopped watching Rome because in the first 3 minutes of the first episode, the guy comes home, the main character comes home with like a bag full of severed penises and slams it on the coffee table. He's like, "That was a good day at war." My dad's like, "I'm not watching this shit."
Dude, this Shocking Dark actually looks pretty badass. It looks like it was even, one of those movies that they like sold. They sold it as Terminator 2 in certain territories, apparently. It's from 1989. It's free on Tubi right now. It's directed by Bruno Mattei. Which,
God.
Is just a good sign that it's going to be a glorious piece of shit. Thank you for that recommendation, Ryan. I will be checking
that poster's out. Pretty rad.
Yeah. I don't know how I didn't know about that.
I'm going to have to watch that tonight. God damn.
Yeah, it looks like it's a team of soldiers and civilians.
Terminator 2.
Venice, of all places, to investigate the mysterious deaths of scientists who are trying to clean the polluted water.
It's on Blu-ray.
So it's environmentally conscious schlock. That's always fun.
Terminator 2, Shocking Dark. Oh, shit.
Very cool. I always love finding shit like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is probably better than Shocking Dark, but...
I'm sending that to Jason from Corpse Flood because Terminator 2 is his favorite movie of all time. I was like, you were lied to the entire time. This is the real Terminator 2.
Yeah, forget about that kid from Brain Scan.
Yeah, fuck that shit. In the house. Fuck that whiny bitch.
I love Brain Scan so much.
In the last 15 minutes or so.
Full Moon character, man. Because Trickster would have worked really well in the Full Moon universe, I think.
That was another movie that I thought was being set up for sequels and it just never happened.
I feel like we were supposed to get one, unless that was just rumors that someone elaborated on. But I feel like there was, at one point, plans for that. And somebody we know was involved in like a fan-made Brain Scan sequel at one point. I want to say Chris is who turned me on to the fact that that existed at one point. I don't know if it was actually released, but from what I remember hearing about it, it sounded like it could have been pretty cool as like a fan film, Obviously it wasn't done with anywhere near the budget of Brain Scan. But,
yeah, I remember seeing that opening night in the theater.
It's a good one.
It was sold out.
Prefer it to Terminator 2, if I'm honest. When I think of Edward Furlong, that's like top tier for me. Is
he's drooling all over himself.
So I don't know, man. I mean, if you were to recommend this to someone, how would you just sell it to them in like a couple of sentences or less?
I'd say it's Alien meets Dreamscape, basically.
Yeah. If you've got a high tolerance for man meat and, a lot of patience when it comes to truncated kill scenes, you're probably not going to have too much to complain about. I think that there's a lot more charm to it than there is like downside,
Yeah, like the idea of it, yeah, the main conceit of what the plot's about is what really kind of makes me like go, I like that a lot. That you know why I like it a lot, you know.
Right. Yeah. It's more details on this soon. We're hinting at a
Yeah.
lot of stuff here, but there's going to be some fun shit in the
I
future.
found it very intriguing and worth revisiting.
Yeah, so there's maybe a little creatively stimulating, if you will. It's, I think, like I said earlier, about the only thing that could really improve it outside of extended kill scenes is maybe there being a little bit more lead up to it pre-production wise to go over the script, flesh out the, not necessarily the lore, but the the science and the process that they went through to get to this point. There could have been a flashback or two.
It feels like they used like the second draft of the script for shooting when it probably could have gone through at least 2 or 3 more revisions. But they were like, nope, we got a time crunch. We got to get this thing going.
Yeah, we gotta get out that first video slate of releases there.
Like Louise Fletcher's only available on these dates. We got to be shooting by then.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not often that I say a movie needs more exposition or whatever, like explanation, but this one could have benefited from some of it just to make it feel.
I mean, the rat thing makes sense. The monkey thing makes sense because of the people that are associated with it, but the one that had to do specifically with James Hong makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah, if anything, I would have probably given him more credit if they didn't show anything during that scene.
Yeah, like he just died, like he's just dead.
Yeah, or you just hear like the noises
screaming
that the thing was making later, and then he's just like, "Oh my god, it's..."
Yeah, you hear him scream through like the window or something like that, and you see some blood splash against it, and you're like, oh, okay, he's dead.
He could have said some shit like, "It's more magnificent than I ever imagined," or something, and then he just...
And he's not talking about that guy's weighing.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, boy. It was pretty magnificent. I'll give him that. I mean, the guy had a nice penis. There's no way around it.
Obviously, he thought so, too, because he had no problem having a camera rig set up just to show it to everybody.
Yeah. J.S. Cardone was digging it, for sure.
He was like, nope, this is our showstopper right here.
Oh, shit, we got Cody in the house. What's up, buddy? He was the dude I was talking about that was involved in that Amityville film.
Oh, God.
Yeah, man. It's...
Amityville Timeshare? Or
I think...
what was it? Rideshare.
Rideshare, yeah. I think that this is a great example of a movie that lives up to a lot of its potential, but there's still a lot of potential stored in there. And though it wasn't fully exploited, it does it in a way that leaves it open for imagination, as we've touched on, to kind of fuel speculation on what could have been, you know. So also, much like Crash and Burn, I think that this is a solid contender for a film that would have made a decent video game. You know? Yeah. Full Moon didn't do too many of those that could really work as great video games, but the ones that they did do, I think, are pretty solid. I'd put this right there with Crash and Burn in that regard. Maybe even I could have seen like Shadowzone being a spooky or not Shadowzone. God damn it, Netherworld being like a spooky sort of point and click Southern Gothic type adventure game or something like that.
Some kind of like Phantasmagoria or something.
Right.
Yeah, I could see Shadowzone being sort of like, Alien Isolation, where it's like you creeping around the installation trying to avoid the monster kind of thing.
Oh yeah, James Hong just pops up every now and again.
He goes, "I don't like ghosts."
Indeed. Yeah, I love it. So yeah, it's got a lot going for it. I can't recommend it enough. It's definitely one that it might not be the first thing I think of to pull out and show somebody, but it's going to be on the list eventually if I'm going to take them through Full Moon movies that maybe, you could consider underrated. Dark Angel I would put in the same camp as kind of this and Crash and Burn as well, where it's those Full Moon movies that everyone should know, but somehow a lot of us just missed for a long, long time.
Yeah, it's like if it wasn't a Puppet Master movie or a Subspecies or something like that, it's like certain ones just slip through the cracks.
Yeah, and then later they got better at doing ones that like appealed to the general Full Moon vibe more, and I think maybe why this one and like Crash and Burn and Dark Angel sit a little bit outside that is because they are so different to the stuff Full Moon is typically doing. Something like Mandroid, you just look at that cover and it's like, oh, that looks like Full Moon shit, you know? So I rented the shit out of those as a kid. But somehow I was missing gems like fucking Shadowzone and Crash and Burn and whatnot.
I was kind of annoyed with myself for not like renting it back in the day after I watched it on Tubi.
Right. And I feel like a lot of people, once they take the time to give it a shot, will probably feel pretty similarly. It's a gem for sure.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, we've got several others coming up here. You chose a nice lineup of films for us to cover in the future. Do you have an idea what the next one you might want to do is?
We could probably do Mandroid if you want.
Yeah, we can jump into that.
Ooh, I wonder why.
If you want, we could do that and then Invisible. You know, just bang them both out. So that
like do like a double feature.
The
well, they basically are like one movie split into two almost.
Pretty much, yeah. So that could be a fun upcoming one. I know that I've got Creepazoids here real soon with Clint from the Hamityville Horror Podcast and old Mike Mazzy. So we're going to be doing that.
I talked to Jason about getting off his ass and doing CP. Who's like, I'm just waiting for him to tell me a date. I'm like, no, he's waiting for you to give him a date. I'm like, I was yelling at him. I'm like, sitting there going, like, none of this ask your mother, ask your father bullshit. I was like, just give the man a date.
I'm just gonna cut him some slack and pick a date.
Yeah.
So that's when we're going to be doing. Me and Cody are actually going to be doing one on Tourist Trap. So, and you know, if any of you guys ever want to join in on them, I'll try to make a point to get the dates out there so that you guys know when we're doing them. Because the more the merrier, right? There's no rule saying that we have to do these just one-on-one. I mean, I love the dynamic of, you know, us being able to sit here and tear into them. But if one of you guys wants to join us for one of these, I'm not going to say no. You know,
the more the merrier.
So there's that. Yeah. What other ones didn't you say you wanted to do Netherworld as well, or was that someone else?
I don't remember, but you know, if I only had a record of these things that I said somewhere.
I have like a list that I keep of it, but I don't have it on me.
Yeah, I remember I said Mandroid and Invisible, and it wasn't Arcade.
No, I don't think Arcade was one. I imagine through all of our Megan Ward appreciation, we'll end up practically being able to piece together an Arcade.
Bad channels. Bad Channels,
right.
Shadowzone, Netherworld. If that didn't work out with whoever you said already had like claimed it, and Mandroid and Invisible
expressed some interest, but I don't know if it's going to actually happen.
Okay.
Probably not. So
yeah, Bad Channels. I forgot. Yeah, that's the other one that I thought I had seen, but I hadn't.
Oh, Bad Channels.
Yeah,
it's a good one, man. Netherworld's a real good one too. It's probably. There's a lot of times I'm quoted as saying it's probably the best movie Full Moon did in the 90s, but that's a cumulative thing, like all production value, soundtrack.
It's just because Edgar Winters is in it, that's why.
Yeah, he is. He does have has a ghastly, ghostly appearance that fucking he will remember.
Maybe he was the ghost that James Hong was afraid of. I don't know.
He's fucking ripping a saxophone solo in there too, and I'm never going to complain about that.
Yeah, I remember seeing the Full Moon because like they show him doing that in the Full Moon, the Video Zone,
right?
Like opening and all that. I remember going like, I've never seen that movie, and then I rented it. I was like, oh, there you go. That's right.
Yeah, it's him and the dude, the keyboardist from Bon Jovi, just jamming. It's like if Porky's was a supernatural Southern Gothic version of Phantasm. That's pretty much.
Except the ball is a hand.
Yeah. So definitely looking forward to those. Lots of cool discussions coming up. So yeah, lots more of these good times to tune in. And I'm starting to think that, you know, I don't know if there's necessarily want to have to wait to cover all those franchise ones. We've mentioned this briefly before, but I think it would be cool at some point to just do like a subspecies discussion.
For the whole series.
Yeah, just kind of bang them out.
Would that include Vampire Journals?
I leave that up to whoever is participating. We could.
I was going to say, I mean, it is kind of like a side story because they do talk about Radu in it and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And, you know, without Subspecies 5 out, I mean, I suppose there's room for it. So,
get on it, Charlie. Come on.
Yeah, give us the goods, baby. At least give us an update so that we know how it's going.
Yeah, no shit.
So yeah, that might be
get a
something
goddamn
that,
Kickstarter going or something. I'll give you some money.
for sure. And get the rest of those remasters out there.
Yeah, no shit. Give me part 4, son of a bitch.
So, yeah, man. I mean, we'll cross more of the franchise bridge as we're getting closer to the end of our current slate of these discussions. I think we're about halfway through it now at this point, and we're gonna make short work of the other half because there are a lot of fun discussions on there people haven't claimed yet, like Lurking Fear. So I imagine me and you will probably just bang out most of it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think I own Lurking Fear. I think I just have Castle Freak.
Castle Freak's fun. I mean, obviously that's a fucking classic. Oh, see you later, Tylord. Thanks for popping in, man. Lurking Fear is not a great movie, but
Yeah, it's
another
on
one that
Ashley
carries
Lawrence in it,
potential.
right?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one where she was embarrassed enough that she said, "Take out half of my last name." Yeah.
It's got her. It's got fucking.
Well, Jeffrey Combs is in it, right?
Jeffrey Combs, yeah, he's up in there as well as like the drunk preacher guy.
That's the one that got them. They lost the Paramount money because of that one.
Yep, that was the one that led to the end of the cash flow. They put it to pretty good use, Again, not a great film, but one that is very, very thick with potential.
Yeah.
I could see that being able to be worked in at some point.
I did rent that one, and I think I've only seen it once, so I have to definitely rewatch it.
As far as Siege movies go, well, it's like a C-, but it's you put it up beer and popcorn, and it's a good time.
I just remember Ashley Lawrence like digging like a little shallow grave that was maybe this deep and putting some dynamite in it, covering it up. So it's like, "Come get it, sons of bitches," and like walking away. That's all I really remember.
It's definitely a relic from the time where you didn't even need to have like martial art skills or really skills with guns, but if you wore shoulder holsters, you looked like a badass. So like that was all you needed to do. I think there's like a brief scene where she's supposed to have like a cat fight with this girl, but it's just not. She just didn't have it, Yeah, she didn't have to deliver any roundhouses against Uncle Frank when he was suckling his bodies.
Yeah, she just stuck her fist in his belly.
True enough. But yeah, lots of cool stuff coming up in the future. In terms of my edited reviews, I keep running out of like time to get those in lately, mostly just because of work shit. But they're gonna come out as they come out. We're doing a good job of filling the full moon void here with these discussions, anyways. And if I'm being completely honest, I'm liking the fact that we're taking these down a lot quicker than I thought that we would. So if we can get them done, then that just leaves room to, cover franchise stuff and work on reviews to cover next year. So
hell yeah.
Of those franchises, I think the Subspecies one is probably the one I'm looking the most forward to covering.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite too.
Yeah, and I've never really gotten to talk to people about it, whereas Trancers and stuff off and on, we've talked about it, and I've gotten to talk about it with friends a little bit and stuff. And Puppet Master is always kind of frequently getting brought up when you're covering full moon stuff anyways, but Subspecies is one I'm going to be looking forward to. And the Invisible and Mandroid discussions, because there's a lot of praise we got to heap on certain characters, and that's...
Ooh, who could that be?
Time will tell. Thanks again, though, Chris, for joining me for this. This was pretty fun. Get out there and watch Shadowzone if you guys have not seen it, and we'll see you back here with the next one. As always, I've been Mosley. You've been a bunch of sexy beasts, and this has been yet another episode of That Full Moon Live.